You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another anime review. It's been a while since I've done a single DVD volume review. In fact, in all honesty, I'm not even sure I've done it before. I know I've done single volume manga reviews, but I can't remember if I've done it with DVDs. I think I have, but maybe not. That said, as you can see, today we'll be talking about the JoJo OVAs, particularly Volume 1 of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure OVA series. If you're unfamiliar with the OVAs, they only cover Stardust Crusaders, and when they were originally released in Japan, actually started with the second half of Stardust Crusaders after they've reached Egypt. As you can tell by this case, however, if you can pay attention to the episode titles, this set came out in the US first. It's Volume 1, but it's actually chronologically first, so it's actually the second OVA set. So this is the one from 2000 rather than the one from 93. When they brought it over here to the US, they thought it was just a better idea to release them in chronological order, which I agree. So the first 3 volumes cover the second OVA series, which is actually the first half of Stardust Crusader, which is part 3 of JoJo, so it's a little confusing there. But this set particularly contains the first 3 episodes of the OVA series, and as such, it covers the first 3... And because of that, obviously, it's only one small part of it. There are 13 episodes of the OVAs total, including both OVA series. And as you can see for the episodes, we have the Evil Spirit, Hierophant Green, and Silver Chariot and Strength. So you may have noticed that Silver Chariot and Strength are together, which is maybe an odd choice. So as you can imagine, these OVAs do cover a lot of the same stuff as Stardust Crusaders does. Particularly the content of these episodes is very similar to the content of the early episodes of Crusaders. But being that there are 13 episodes total rather than the 48 we got with the David production version, you can imagine there is a lot of liberties taken and a lot of stuff removed. For the most part, it's a pretty faithful adaptation. The first episode is pretty much unchanged. The second's pretty close to unchanged too. The third one's where you get a little bit weird, but yeah, for the most part, it's very similar. So we'll start off with some of the key differences. Number 1, when Jotaro is fighting Kakyoin during their first encounter, it's actually a fight in the woods rather than in the nurse's office. And rather than Kakyoin possessing the nurse, he possesses one of the classmates that Jotaro has, one of the girls that's been swooning over Jotaro. One thing I don't like is because, the way it happened, there's no Yakamashi when all the girls are swooning over him. He doesn't yell at them, he just keeps walking. There's several other minor changes like that. The biggest change within this volume, however, is that Polnareff appears during the Strength fight, and therefore does not meet them in Hong Kong, he meets them on board Strength. Also, Anne does not exist in this continuity. The little girl that stows away with them does not exist in this. That beetle stand that attacks the plane doesn't exist either. The plane just kind of crashes for unknown reasons. One of the engines fails. Also, they decided to not give Polnareff a flesh bud, and instead had him just join Dio of his own free will to try and catch the guy who killed his sister. Which, in my opinion, makes sense. Polnareff really didn't need a flesh bud in the manga or David production version, but he just kind of had one to give him, I guess, additional incentive to be able to join Dio. But I don't know, I just found it kind of interesting that Polnareff joined Dio of his own accord in this. I thought that would have been consistent with the character, so I'm okay with that change. Because obviously, getting revenge for his sister is a big part of Polnareff's character. Another interesting addition is when Jotaro touches Kakyoin's flesh bud, it goes into him, and it actually gives him a flashback of some of Dio's memories from Part 1. Now, being as this was the first JoJo animation, it's technically the first time we've seen any interpretation of Part 1. Luckily, this does come with both the sub and dub. I decided to do sub this time, although I might go back and watch the dub. The dub's kind of cheesy and stupid, and I do like that kind of dub. Also, another thing that they added in is Enyaba has the ability to transform herself into a young, attractive woman, which I already knew about, but it was still something that's worth mentioning, because that is something you see play out in this interpretation. There's other minor differences, but if you like JoJo, I'd recommend checking this out. This is a very good volume, and I'll be sure to review Volume 2 once I get it. But yeah, this was a fun one. I'm going to be doing the individual volume reviews with this series as I do it, and I might do that with a few other series in the future as well. I know I already do that with manga sometimes, so I figured why not with DVDs. Anyway, this has been Fugitive Red-Eye, and you have a good one.